So one of these two watches is arguably one of the top watches in terms of price and value when it comes down to mechanical watches. The other one therefore might be the worst, as with a price of over 50,000 euros, it costs more than 150 times as much as the first one, making it the perfect example for these super high-class, high-end luxury watches. But can a watch actually be that much better made so that it matches the price of a very nice car, even though you could get something supposedly just as good for only a fraction of that? Today we are slowly going to work our way up, starting at around 500 euro with a Seiko 5 Sports, further along to a 5,000 euro Tag Heuer Monaco, right up to the 50,000 euro price range with a Patek Philippe 5930G World Timer. We're going to take a very close look at what makes these watches differ from each other in function, complexity, finishing, and wear, right down to the tiniest detail. All of this to answer one question: is it justified to spend over 50,000 euro on a watch, or are you better off saving 99% of that? And on a very quick note, before we get started, I wanted to say thank you to Kai from Watchwise, who helped me out with this footage, so the hands and wrist that you see is not mine, but his. This Seiko 5 Sports is your typical Seiko, which means that with this watch you get everything you would need from a mechanical watch without having to spend too much money on it. It's robust and well finished, and most importantly therefore also long lasting, which makes this stand out to some other watches that might be more affordable than this one. This Seiko right here comes on a fine mesh bracelet, which is really comfortable, especially for smaller wrists, but with a diameter of 42.5 millimeters, it definitely sits on the larger side considering the lug-to-lug of 46 millimeters. On top of the case sits a crystal made from Hardlex, so no sapphire, but it's more affordable though not as scratch resistant. The case is partially brushed or polished, but you can see how this is a more simple executed finish, and the same goes for the bezel. It all works well together, but you can easily spot little imprecisions on the graduation, for example. And the same goes for the dial. The single components are all well made, the hour markers are aligned straight, and the hands look good too. But when you take a close look, you start to see how they are still rather rough looking, especially when looking at the hour markers and their partially displaced looms. It continues on the day and date display, where you can see small inaccuracies on the printing and its frazzled outlines. I am positively surprised by the dial plate itself. I mean, depending on how the light hits it, it changes its color thanks to its sunburst, which is exceptionally well made for sure. Inside beats the Seiko Movement 4R36 with an accuracy of around about 20 seconds per day. It's not super accurate, but it's a long-lasting and reliable, and also relatively cheap in comparison when it comes to servicing it. You can also look at it through the case spec, but it's not an overwhelmingly beautiful sight given that it has no decorations besides some inscriptions. Like the rest of the watch, the Movement was built to, just work without adding any more that it would not necessarily need or use. Many Seiko watches sit within the 500 euro price range, and this one is going to set you back with about 330 euro. And it seems like it's also the amount of money you would have to spend to get a decent value for your money when it comes to mechanical watches. So I think that Tag Heuer Monaco is a great example to show you what the 5,000 euro price range has to offer, as this one has many of the most important characteristic watches in this luxury segment have to offer without being entirely perfect either. The first point here is its history and the uniqueness of this watch. I mean, obviously I'm talking about the square case here, but this is also the watch that Steve McQueen wore in the classic movie Le Mans, something that irrevocably tied the Monaco to the world of motorsports. And a little fun fact on the side, this was also the watch given as a gift to Walter White by Jesse Pinkman in Breaking Bad. So let's have a look what this watch has to offer besides its rich history in film and TV, as it's almost 10 times the price compared to the Seiko. The almost perfectly square case is made from stainless steel with a side length of 39 millimeters. Though it might seem rather bulky, it's not as chunky on the wrist as you might expect it to be, and the leather strap helps with comfortability too. The case is also where we start to see the first differences. The The finishing on the case is no longer just functional, but more refined, varying between brushed and polished parts. This results in fine edges, giving it a striking look, and I have to say that at first glance, the finishing details on the pushes, for example, look pretty much perfect. The crystal used here is a sapphire one, making it very scratch but not shatter resistant, which is also the standard on pretty much all higher end luxury watches. Though the steel clasp is nothing out of the ordinary, it works well and is comfortable to close and open. So now when we start taking a bit of a closer look, we start to see even more obvious differences. The blue dial is not just blue for the sake of adding some color, but the finishing on it contributes to the overall unique design of the Monaco. You can tell that the entire dial has been really thought through, and every single part has been made with an eye for detail. The hands are way more elaborate looking than the ones on the Seiko, with their red color accents and luminous material sunken into it. But they're also modified, and even very close up, they look as immaculate as they do from afar. You can also see how the lettering on the dial looks incredibly well, and the sharp hour markers complete the look of it. It might be due to its motorsport background, but the executing on the dial makes me think of these high-end racing cars that have been constructed to perfection. When it comes down to the movement, we are also getting to the point many have an issue with regarding this watch. Built in is the TAG Heuer Caliber 11 with a 40-hour power reserve, a chronograph function, as well as a date. But what sounds like an in-house creation from TAG Heuer is actually a rather affordable movement from Sellita, the SW300 that has been used as a base to build upon by TAG Heuer. So some people might have an issue with a high markup on this watch, given they use a rather, affordable movement basis to power their watch. It's not like it's a bad movement, it's solid and reliable, but when it comes to higher prices, those things get more and more important, and you want to make sure that you get the most for your money. But still, in comparison to the €500 price bracket, you can clearly see the differences. After all, TAG Heuer has clearly modified and done some work on the movement. You can see the TAG Heuer lettering on it, the perlage and the Geneva stripes that embellish the movement. So I think this TAG Heuer Monaco paints a really good picture about the watches that you can get around the €5,000 mark, with the amount of details, the finishing, and perhaps the movement that's not always made from in-house, which is not as uncommon as you would think below the 10K mark. But what can you expect and hope for if you again increase your budget tenfold and put around €50,000 on the table? So Patek is known to be one of the finest watchmakers, and some might even say they are the absolute number one in this game when you consider things like history and finishing, horology in general, and the craftsmanship that goes into it. The 5930G world timer is by far not the most expensive Patek Philippe, but this one is a perfect example of what you can get when you buy a watch instead of a really nice car. To no surprise, it even starts with the case. If you think that this is just plain and simple stainless steel, you might want to guess again, because this watch is made from 18 karat white gold, and just considering the worth of the used material, it's roughly the same as the entire Monaco I have showed you before. It is your typical dress watch from Patek, though it sits a bit on the bigger side with its 39.5mm diameter and a height of 12.86mm, but I don't think it takes away from the elegant vibes at all. It might sound a bit cuckoo to say this, but it's a bit difficult to describe how it feels when wearing a Patek Philippe. It feels elegant and delicate, but also much heavier than you would actually think it's going to be thanks to the white gold. I can't fit it properly around my wrist, but from what I have been told, it wears really comfortable on the crocodile leather strap, and the white gold clasp with the Calatrava cross gives off a satisfying click when you open it or closing it. But to really understand the difference in price, I think it's best to look a little bit closer to see what this one has to offer. So right away when looking at it, you can see how intricate the dial is. Just look at the center. The pattern you see here is called guilloche and is, as pretty much all of this watch, entirely done by hand. With many watches around the 10K mark, you can spot smaller irregularities when getting really close up, even though there's not much done by hand anymore. But with Patek, it seems to be the opposite. The closer you get, the more fascinated I am by what I can see. It's not only the pattern on the dial that appears to be perfect, but also the contoured hands are sharp and flawless. The hour markers look almost unreal to me, like these computer renderings that you can see online, because they've been built so well. It shouldn't come as a surprise that everything else on here is made just as well, like the rings with the numbers and cities that display the world time function, etc. So even though I was able to film a couple of very expensive watches in the past, I'm still very much surprised whenever I get really close with my camera to see just how much work and precision must have went into such a watch. But we're still not at the specific point that makes Patek Philippe watches the number one for many in the watch world. So let's get to the part where you start to wonder whether or not the effort that has been put into it and the perfect result from it is still reasonable, or if it's just pure madness and decadence. Because when you think the dial is nuts, let me show you what is happening with the movement on a Patek Philippe. The functions and complications here are probably the least exciting thing when looking at the movement. Besides your regular time complication, you also get a second time zone and a chronograph function for good measure, which is still rather simple for a Patek. It's getting more and more intense when we take a closer look at the movement. Every single piece in this has been made to look even prettier by hand. Each lever, plate or wheel, and every bit of lettering on the solid gold rotor has been finished flawlessly, and what's even better is that this does not only apply to the visible parts. With such an obsession for detail, you get one of the most beautiful movements in the world of watches. And I'm not saying that Patek is the only one. There's A. Lange & Söhne, for example, or Moser, but this level is really high-end and not many manufacturers find themselves on the top here. So when buying a Patek Philippe, you can be sure to get one-of-a-kind watch, one that is really at the top of the tops. But you're also getting a very low-key status symbol that can be passed down for generations. But is that really worth the 50,000 euros more? Well, today we did take a look at 3 watches that basically are all able to tell you the time, and we've started with a Seiko 5 Sports within the 500 euro price range. We have multiplied their budget by 10 and saw what the difference were between the price and what you can get for it within the luxury watches segment, and then we went in and multiplied that again by 10 and ended up at the realization what it really means when something costs 10 times more and is no longer considered a luxury watch, but truly a high-end piece that only a few people are able to afford. So when the price increases, so does the exclusivity of certain watches, and the more money you spend, the more unique is the watch you're going to get. The higher up you go in price, the more time is spent to work on the watch by hand. Even the tiniest parts are carefully decorated and finished. I mean, when looking at it, it's not hard to think about how much more time and effort went into manufacturing the Patek compared to the Seiko, right? But the question still remains whether or not this form of uniqueness is worth the 50,000 euro or more. A question everyone has to answer for themselves for sure. So, what about you?